the same page, I want to remind you, the second part of the video, how to find the TOEIC Harvard Guide in case you've forgotten. So you'll come to your dashboard and you will click on the TOEIC Harvard Referencing Guide, make sure it's 2021, and then it will very simply open up. So let's move on from where we left off in the previous video. Okay, we get to the next page, and this is just giving you some a little bit of an introduction to the referencing format. So the referencing format will depend on the referencing style that you are using. At TOEIC, we use the TOEIC Harvard Guide. Again, remember, it's the TOEIC Harvard Guide, not just the Harvard Guide. We've tweaked it according to our needs and expectations at TOEIC. So you'll follow a specific format, specific referencing outline, and so you'd start with something like who wrote the source, and that would entail the author's name, the corporate author. So the corporate author would be an organization that's writing the document. So sometimes it might not be an individual, but it might be someone at that organization who has actually written the article. It could be a university, it could be a pharmaceutical company, for example, etc. And then, of course, a website name would be a website hosting various articles and various pieces of information. So what is the source called? It would be the title of your article, where it can be found. So it's in a book, in a website, in a journal, and depending on the structure, it will show you what the source was, when the source was published, so that's the year of the date of publication, where it was, or where the publishers were located, and who, also rather when you access the source. So that's only for websites, but you need to show exactly when you've actually accessed that document. The reason for that is websites are updated regularly, and so you will find information perhaps that has been available in March of this year is no longer available, for example, in October, because information changes, stats change, circumstances change, interpretations change as well. This is a very important point, and I've actually learned this the hard way. When I first started studying, I would keep all the references or the referencing process for the end. I'm talking about the reference list. This was extremely hard because then at the end of the assignment, when my energy was depleted and I needed to, I felt like I just couldn't do this anymore. I had to still create a reference list, which, as we know, is quite a tiring task. It's quite it takes a lot of focus. And so I learned the hard way, as I said, that you need to reference as you go along. So as you're doing your research, usually keep a separate page, preferably not a written page. Use a Word document, for example, on your PC, and every time you find a new source that you're going to use, just type in the reference in alphabetical order already. So by the time that you are done with your assignment, you don't have to go back and create a reference list. It's already been created as you go along. You can, of course, tweak it at the end of your assignment, but most of the work will be done. This is really a time saver. It is a great tip because when you are done with your assignment, you don't want to have to still worry about the references and go into your assignment, which can be quite long. Go and look for those citations, go and look for the websites or the articles again, which you might not easily find. We now move on to websites, so referencing from a website. I'm going to go through a lot of this line by line until I feel like you'd be a little bit more comfortable. Okay, so how do we reference from a website if the author is not indicated? So usually you would look for an author first because that is what you would use in your referencing, both your in-text and your full referencing. But if you do not find a website author, you would use this structure. I'm going to go to this website and I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. As you can see, this is the same website that is referred to in the guide. Sorry about that. Let's close that. So this is the site. We're looking for an author, and as you can see, an author is not available. I'm just trying to get further down the page. So this is the article on the Sphinx. And you can see over here, it's updated August the 21st, 2018. That was the original. So can you see that the website still get updated because it was written on the 4th of January, but updated on August the 21st. It says history.com editor, so again, there's no actual author name. So the date is available there, which is fantastic. But if, for example, you're on a site and the website does not become available, you'll travel further down your page, just taking a little bit of time. You'll travel down your page right to the end. And usually, you'd find the site information and the updated or the copyright date of the site. So you would use that date in your reference list. I just want to move up here very quickly and show you something else. So look at the information on the website is available as well. If you do not have information on the site, if you can't find a publisher name, you can't find a date, you can't find relevant information, preferably do not use that site. It's not a reputable site if you can't find the site information because you don't know who created it, what was the purpose of them creating it. Is it something to push an agenda, for example? Is it a opinion piece? Is it written by someone who has no knowledge on the subject? So preferably use sites that are reputable in that they have the information available to you. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to go through the step by step, so forgive me for I'm going to be a little bit, it might come across as a bit monotonous, but I'm going to take you through step by step to ensure that we are on the same page. So again, there's two types of there's two ways of doing referencing in your assignment. You'll do a citation or inside your text, and then you'll do a reference list entry, which is in your reference list, which is found at the end of your assignment. I'm going to say this often, your reference list found at the end of your assignment, the last page. The heading will be reference list. It will be in alphabetical order, a single space between each reference. You will have everything in black font, in black, typed in black, no underlines, and the correct structure. So your citation inside of your sentence. So when you are referring to a text from another author or information from another author, you would say, for example, if you want to directly address the information, you directly want to speak about what the author has said, you can say following history.com. The reason it's history.com is because the author is not available, so you would reference the page name. So following history.com, and you would put in brackets the year that the information was last updated. At the time, it was 2018. The Sphinx is one of the world's largest monuments and recognized by many. So this might be a little bit confusing. The reason the 2018 was used here is because the actual article or the actual document does have a date. But if they don't have a date, you'll use the most updated date, which is 2021. The Sphinx is one of the largest. So can you see this is a direct quote, which is why there's quotation marks. And then the introduction of the information is then put down in your own words, which is paraphrased. The citation at the end of the sentence, again, you paraphrase the information. In this case, you do not have the website name outside of the brackets, but rather within the brackets. History.com, 2018, full stop outside of the brackets. A reference list entry, remember your reference list is at the end of your assignment. You have the website name, full stop, the year that information is from. Again, preferably use the most recent date, the date the information was most recently updated. The title of the website article, and that will be in italics, full stop, open a block bracket, you write the word type the word online, close your block bracket, no full stop thereafter. Not in italics, you have the word available at, colon, the URL, and then the date that you access the document. Open brackets, the word access, and then date in this format. Close brackets, full stop. Okay, so very, very specific. If you're referencing from a website where the author is indicated, so you can see over here the author has been indicated, you'd say according to, and you'd reference the author directly if you're deciding to use this in-text referencing style. You then put the year of the article, and then you paraphrase the information from the article. Citation at the end of the sentence. If you want to do a direct quote, again quotation marks. Remember to not use too many direct quotes because it does affect the way your article reads. For some people, too many quotes shows that perhaps the author or the writer doesn't really know what they're talking about, and they feel that they need the direct quotes to provide validity to their argument. So preferably keep the direct quotes to a minimum, use them as little as possible. Then we have the reference list entry. Remember, that's the end of your assignment on the reference page, or the reference in the reference list. You have the author surname, your comma, the initial, full stop, the year the article was published, full stop. Then in italics, you'll have the name of the article, full stop, online, and close brackets, available at the URL, and then of course when the article was accessed. Remember, if you do not have an author name, then as it's up here, you would have the website name in that space. We now move on to a different type of referencing, or different referencing style for a different source. YouTube or online videos, which is very popular. This is the structure for that. Again, it's quite similar. You'd have the surname of the author, you'd have the date that the video or the YouTube video was uploaded or created. The same for the citation at the end of the sentence. And the difference here you can see is that if you use a YouTube video, you would just basically put in the author or the person that created the video. You'd have in italics the article or the video name rather, and then you would have the URL placed there as well. If you use images in your assignment, you have to make sure that you do reference where you found that image, because remember, the image belongs to someone. So this is the structure for the image reference. As you can see, you have to be very specific. You need to name the image. You have to put down what, for example, in this case, the photographer, and in your case, it might be where you found it, and then the year that the image was actually uploaded or created. The reference list entry, the surname of the person or the photographer, the year that the image was uploaded, and then the name of the image online, and then the URL, and then the date it was accessed. You would use this quite a bit if you are referencing notes or sources compiled by a TOGI lecturer. This is the structure you would be using. Remember, that indicates page numbers. Okay, journal entries. I would definitely suggest that you use journals as much as you possibly can. Journals are peer-reviewed, which means that professionals in the field have actually gone through the information and either disputed it or agreed with what is found in that journal article. Journal articles are the most current information available on a topic, and they are seen as a source which is more valid or more reliable than others. I'm going to show you very quickly what it looks like, what a journal cover looks like, and where you find the information, but let me just very quickly talk about what we find here. So the citation inside the sentence, we have the surname of the author, we have the year, and then we have the page numbers that we've used from that journal article. The same over here. We have the surname, the initial of the author, the year it was published, then the name of the article, not in italics, full stop, but the name of the journal that you found the article from, that would be in italics. I will then explain what these numbers are by showing you an example. So an example of the front page of an e-journal, you'll find the title of the journal, which is what you put in italics in your full reference. You'll find the volume, the number, which is usually called the issue number, the date it was published, and then the page numbers in this article. That is who published, or who published the article, or where you can find the journal article on the site. And then we have the title of the article. These are the authors, the abstract, which is usually just a quick summary of what the article is about, and this is the keywords or the search criteria. So as you can see, the information was quite detailed and everything is available to you. So in your reference list entry, you will have the surname or the surnames of the authors, their initials, the date it was published, then the name of the article in italics, the journal name, comma, the volume, the issue, or the number, and the page numbers that the journal has, or that you've read. In ebooks, quite similar again. The difference here is that you would also add both the title, you would add who the publishers are, So tutor and where it was published. Remember, like, okay, I'll show that to you a bit later. So we spoke about this earlier when I gave you the brief example, but you use where the publishers are based and then the publishing house. But you also add, because it's an ebook, you'd also add online available at the URL and the date it was accessed. Okay, and this is an important note. Note that in the above example, an error in the original source has been indicated by the use of SIC. This is only used when referring to another author's words. So specifically directing your information or including information from another author, and they've made a mistake, you would then add this to indicate the mistake was made by the author that you are referencing. Okay, we now move on, referencing from an ebook with editors and chapters from different authors. So, okay, I think the in-text reference we got now. So remember, if it's an in-text reference with two authors, you'd use this and, not that and, you'd use this one. If there's more than two authors, which we'll see a little bit later, you'd add a comma, and at the last, before the last surname, you'd put that and. In the reference list entry again, surnames, full stop, you'd add the and there, the next surname, a comma, the S and the full stop. So that's the structure, that's the year. I think we have all of this information. So you then put the title of the chapter that you are reading. And then if the book has authors, you would then place the names of the authors here. So excuse me, editors, not authors, the names of the editors here and the initials. You then put eds in brackets to indicate it's editors, the year that it was published, and then you would write the book name here in italics. In this case, it's the second edition. Southern Africa is where the publisher is based, and this is the publisher name. Online, available at, and that will be the URL and the date it was accessed. So be careful. Remember, the first one is the chapter authors. The second of surnames and initials are the editors if that book has an editor. It can get quite confusing sometimes when you're looking at a book that has editors, but this simplifies it for you quite a bit. And then books in hard copy, we've talked about this in the previous video, but essentially this is what it would look like. Surname, initial, the year it was published. In italics, because it's a hard copy book, you'd have the title of the book in italics. You would then have the publishing place or where the publishers are based, and then the actual publisher name thereafter. The same if you have a book with authors. Just get there. A book with editors and chapters from different authors. I'm sorry, I keep saying authors for editors, but in any case, this is the structure that you would use. You can see it's very similar to what we just spoke about for ebooks. We move on. Referencing from one book with two authors, you use this and in your citation. If it's at the beginning of a sentence, you'll use this and within a bracket for your end of sentence citation, and your reference list entry will use that and this is what it will look like. Again, the title, this place the publisher is based, and then the actual publisher name. And then further down it lays out how you reference a book with three authors, and you can see they just added commas, a comma, an and, a comma, an and then in your reference list, this is what it will look like. Referencing from one book with various pages, you would put the page numbers down like that. Referencing from a book with more than three authors. So if you have more than three authors, you're going to have to write this out throughout your assignment and can get quite tiring. So what you could do is the first time that you reference this book, you write it out completely. Every time thereafter, you can then write et al. And that refers to the fact that there are more authors, but you're only going to write down the first one, and the rest are then you can find in the reference list the names, but you've also been able to see them the first time you've referenced them. So it's just a time saver because it does get quite difficult to, keep writing the same thing over and over and over. And then of course you'll write it out the full version in your reference list at the end of your assignment, which is in alphabetical order, in black, not underlined, no bullets, no numbering, one space between each reference. And that's important, something important. You're gonna start saying that rhyme to yourself eventually. Okay, referencing from more than one book, it has different authors, different year, and different books. So you can see here there are two surnames here. That's Gerber or Gerber, let's say Gerber, and Barron. You're referencing the first author, and remember you're paraphrasing. So this is good academic work, because I can see that this writer has referenced more than two people, more than one author, which means that this person has referenced well. They've gone, look at what different people are saying on the same topic, and then they've brought the information here. You would then have that the first author referenced here, the second author referenced there, and then this is a different way to do it. If you want to put, if they said the same thing about the same topic, and you're paraphrasing and you're saying that they're both saying the same thing, you would then reference like this. You would say, put Gerber in the year his work was published, the page number, semicolon, and then Barron's information then. But in your reference list, you would reference them separately, because of course there are two different sources. Referencing for more than one book. So the rest is quite self-explanatory. You can see that if it's the same author, same year, but different books, you would actually put down the year. You'd name them A, B, and C and D, if depending on how many books you have on the same author, and then the page numbers you've used, the same as here, and then you'd reference both of them, because again, there are two different sources, even though they have the same author. And then you can continue to have a look at how the rest are done. I'm going to move down quickly because this video is quite long already. You can see newspaper articles, caps and government documents which you'll use. Please have a look at that. Interviews, videos, and we get down to the reference list. By now you got to know my rhyme a little bit, but I'm going to say it again. Your reference list is presented at the end of your assignment. It is in alphabetical order, and it contains all of the sources you've used. Every single source that you've used, irrespective of whether it is a website article, journal, book, an interview, you need to put it in your reference list, and you need to cite it in your assignment as well. Whatever is in your reference list must be cited in your assignment, and whatever has been cited must be in your reference list. There must be a single space between each entry. Every source cited in the text has to be listed at the end in the reference list, as I said, and then vice versa. Importantly, the alphabetical order needs to go by the surnames of the authors. Please do not add bullet points, arrows, hyphens, do not number your references. Please just place them one after the other as you see here. Use single space and do not block the right hand margin. So these are in alphabetical order. You can see this is a book. This is from a government website. And this is a journal article. They are below each other, single space between each. They are in alphabetical order. They are not numbered. They are all in black. And you can see here, nothing is underlined. Many students do this, but please do not use the word bibliography. At TOGI, we use the term in-text reference, reference list and in-text references. But for the end of your assignment, that page is called a reference list and not a bibliography. And that's the appropriate heading to use. Questions, frequently asked questions. If the website doesn't show the author, like I said earlier, you will use the corporate author, which is the name of the website. So for example, an article on the website of The Economist, that's a good example. You can have a look at that. If the author or editor of the work is not clearly indicated, as I said earlier, and there's no credible corporate source or author, please do not use the academic work. Do not use a noun. Preferably find a different source, because the information there may not be valid and reliable. So preferably move on to a different source. What must you do if the date is not indicated? Please read this. Usually, like I showed you on the website, you would find the date right at the bottom of the website. In journal articles, they will be on the cover page or the imprint page, and that is for a book chapter and the journal article. And for books, you will find them on an imprint page between the cover page and the title page. So again, just coming to a book reference, if we reference this book, this is the name of the book, that is the publisher, we can find the author as well. Let's have a look at where you'd find the information. So this is where you're going to find the information. Just enlarge it. So this is the information that you need. Preferably, you would use the date of the most recent version of the book. So this is where you find the information. You can see the data over here. That is the publishing house, where it was published, all the information that you need. Okay, if you absolutely cannot find the date and you are absolutely sure that this is a reliable source, you may then use ND as the date. And this, of course, stands for no. How do you indicate a source within a source? So, for example, if you're reading a book with various chapters and the book has editors, but one of the authors are referencing somebody else. One of the authors are referencing information from another book, which is a book within a book within a book, very matrix-like. So if you are reading a book with various chapters, in that chapter, this author references somebody else, in this case, John Dewey. How do you then place that in your reference list? If you'd like to use the quote from Dewey, in your in-text referencing, you'd say, according to Dewey, because he's the person that generated information, you then add the year of being published, or the work of Dewey was published, in. So this is the chapter author. You'd say in chapter author, comma, and then the year it was published. In your reference list, you'd reference Dewey. You then reference the name, and you use SIC or SIC because it seems that there's a mistake being made there. But you obviously want to indicate that the mistake is not made by you, it was purposeful that information that was put down there. You then say in because that is the author of the chapter. You would then put the year, the name or the article name, in, because remember you are using it from a book with editors. You'd have the name of the book, the publishing place or the place that the publishers are based at, and then the publisher name and the page numbers that you've used. And that brings us to the end of the document. I know it is very, very specific, and the dots and the commas and everything have to be in place, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And practice makes perfect in this case, and as in many other cases as well. I'm sorry this video was quite long, but I did want to finish this document all in one go for the second part of this video. I hope this helped. I hope this makes a lot of sense. If you have any challenges, please use the academic support portal. It's very helpful. Alternatively, if you are already using the portal, you are welcome to contact lecturers and they will assist you as they can. Good luck with your referencing, and I hope it becomes a lot easier for you.